Have you ever wondered why some people consistently achieve meaningful success while others remain busy but feel stuck? Why some individuals seem calm under pressure, build strong relationships, and steadily move toward their goals while others chase productivity without real progress? The difference is not intelligence. It is not luck. And it is not working longer hours. The difference is effectiveness. Stephen Covey, in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, explains that effectiveness is built through principles, timeless patterns of thinking, and behavior that shape how we approach work, relationships, and life. This book is not about quick hacks. It is about character. Covey introduces a powerful idea. Private victories create public victories. Before you lead others, you must lead yourself. Before you influence the world, you must manage your choices. Highly effective people are not perfect. They simply practice habits that align their actions with their values. These habits move a person from dependence, where life happens to them, to independence, where they take responsibility, and finally, to interdependence, where they collaborate and create greater impact with others. The journey begins with one simple realization. You are not defined by your circumstances. You are defined by your decisions. Let's begin with the first habit. Habit 1, be proactive. One of the most important ideas in the book is the difference between reactive and proactive people. Reactive people believe their life is controlled by external forces, other people, stress, the economy, bad luck. They say things like, "I don't have time. That's just how I am. I can't change it. They made me do it." This mindset gives away power. Proactive people think differently. They recognize a simple truth. While we cannot control everything that happens, we always control how we respond. This response is where freedom exists. Covey explains that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our ability to choose, and that choice shapes our lives. Proactivity is not about being aggressive or constantly busy. It is about responsibility, the ability to respond. Highly effective people focus their energy on what Covey calls the circle of influence. Inside this circle are things you can impact: your habits, your attitude, your preparation, your effort, your communication. Outside this circle are things you cannot fully control: the economy, other people's opinions, past mistakes, unexpected events. Reactive people focus on the circle of concern: worrying, complaining, blaming. Proactive people invest in the circle of influence: acting, improving, learning. Over time, this focus expands their influence. Small choices compound. Proactivity also changes language. Instead of saying, "I have to," proactive people say, "I choose to." Instead of, "I can't," they say, "I will find a way." Language reflects ownership. Another key idea is emotional independence. Highly effective people do not allow their mood to be dictated by circumstances. They act based on values rather than feelings. This does not mean ignoring emotions. It means not being controlled by them. For example, a reactive person may stop working when motivation drops. A proactive person continues because commitment matters more than mood. Proactivity builds trust with yourself first. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you break it, self-trust weakens. Success is less about dramatic change and more about consistent responsibility. Covey emphasizes that proactive people focus on solutions. They ask, "What can I learn from this? What is within my control? What is the next step?" This mindset reduces stress because it shifts attention from problems to progress. Even in difficult situations, proactivity creates momentum. Consider failure. Reactive thinking says, "I'm not good enough." Proactive thinking says, "What skill do I need to develop?" This shift transforms setbacks into feedback. Proactivity also affects relationships. Instead of waiting for others to change, highly effective people improve their own communication, patience, and clarity. They lead by example. Another powerful concept is values-based living. Reactive people are driven by environment. Proactive people are driven by principles. Principles do not change: honesty, responsibility, growth, respect. When decisions align with principles, Life becomes more stable. Proactivity requires awareness. You begin noticing your automatic reactions, frustration, avoidance, blame, and replacing them with intentional responses. This is difficult at first. Habits resist change, but small moments matter. Choosing preparation over procrastination, choosing calm over anger, choosing effort over excuses. Each choice strengthens identity. Covey explains that proactive people see themselves as creators rather than victims. They design routines. They build systems. They anticipate challenges. They understand that waiting for perfect conditions leads to stagnation. Action creates clarity. Another important idea is self-leadership. Many people want external success without internal discipline, but effectiveness begins privately. Your morning routine, your focus habits, your commitments, your ability to finish what you start. These invisible behaviors determine visible results. Proactivity also improves resilience. When identity is based on effort rather than outcomes, setbacks hurt less. You remain consistent. Highly effective people do not avoid difficulty. They expect it. They understand that growth requires discomfort. One practical strategy from this habit is asking a daily question. What is one thing within my control today that moves me forward? Simple, powerful. Another strategy is reducing complaint time. Notice how often conversations revolve around things you cannot change. Shifting that energy toward action increases progress immediately. Proactivity also builds opportunity. Prepared people notice possibilities others miss. They are ready when chances appear. Luck often looks like preparation meeting timing. Covey's message is clear. Your life changes the moment you stop waiting and start choosing. You may not control circumstances, but you always control effort, learning, and attitude. And over time, these choices shape identity. Habit 1 is the foundation. Without it, the other habits cannot exist, because effectiveness begins with responsibility. Habit 2 begin with the end and imagine boarding a train without knowing its destination. You may be moving fast. You may be busy, but you may also be heading in the wrong direction. Habit 2 is about clarity. Stephen Covey explains that highly effective people do not drift through life. They decide who they want to become and then align their actions accordingly. Everything is created twice. First, in the mind. Second, in reality. A building begins as a blueprint. A speech begins as an idea. A life begins as a vision. Without this mental creation, people live reactively responding to demands rather than pursuing purpose. Beginning with the end in mind means asking deeper questions. What kind of person do I want to be? What matters most? What does success look like beyond money? This habit shifts focus from goals to identity. Goals change. Identity guides. Covey introduces one of the most powerful exercises in the book. Imagine your own funeral. What would people say about you? Your character? Your relationships? Your contribution? This exercise is not about fear. It is about perspective. Many people chase achievements that feel empty because they never defined what meaningful success looks like. Clarity prevents regret. Highly effective people create a personal mission statement, a short description of the values and direction that guide decisions. This statement becomes an internal compass. When opportunities appear, they ask, does this align with my mission? Without clarity, urgency wins. With clarity, importance wins. Habit 2 also protects against distraction. Modern life offers endless inputs, notifications, trends, comparisons. Without a defined destination, attention gets scattered. Vision filters noise. Another important idea is role awareness. Your life is not one dimension. You are not only a professional. You may be a parent, partner, friend, leader, learner, creator. Highly effective people define success in each role. This creates balance. Instead of excelling in one area while neglecting others, they design a life that reflects whole person effectiveness. Beginning with the end in mind also increases motivation. When actions connect to meaning, discipline becomes easier. Work becomes purposeful rather than forced. For example, exercising is no longer about appearance. It becomes about energy, longevity, and presence for loved ones. Meaning sustains effort. Covey emphasizes that values must be principle-centered rather than emotion-centered. Feelings fluctuate. Principles endure. Integrity, growth, contribution. Respect these guide decisions even when motivation drops. Habit 2 also encourages long-term thinking. Many people optimize for comfort today at the cost of freedom tomorrow. Highly effective people reverse this. They accept short-term discomfort for long-term fulfillment. This perspective reduces impulsive choices. Another important idea is visualization. Elite performers mentally rehearse outcomes before acting. They see themselves handling challenges calmly, finishing projects, having difficult conversations, achieving goals. This strengthens confidence. The brain treats vivid imagination as preparation, but vision without action is fantasy. That is why habit 3 exists. Before moving forward, remember, if you do not decide your direction, the world will decide for you. And busyness is not progress. Clarity is power. Habit 3, put first things. First, habit 1 was responsibility. Habit 2 was direction. Habit 3 is execution. This habit answers a simple but difficult question. How do you spend your time according to what matters most? Most people live in reaction mode, responding to urgent demands rather than important priorities. Covey introduces the famous time management matrix. Tasks fall into 4 categories. Quadrant 1, urgent and important. Crises, deadlines, emergencies. Quadrant 2, important but not urgent. Planning, learning, health, relationships, skill building. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. Interruptions, unnecessary meetings, other people's priorities. Quadrant 4, not urgent and not important. Mindless scrolling, distractions, avoidance. Highly effective people live primarily in Quadrant 2. This is where long-term success is built. But Quadrant 2 rarely demands attention. It requires intention. Without planning, life becomes a cycle of crises. Habit 3 is about protecting important activities before they become urgent. This means scheduling priorities rather than prioritizing schedules. Instead of asking, "What do I have time for?" you ask, "What deserves my time?" This shift is transformational. Covey explains that discipline is not restriction, it is alignment. When actions reflect values, guilt decreases and focus increases. Habit 3 also requires learning to say no. Many people overcommit because they fear disappointing others. But saying yes to everything means saying no to what matters. Highly effective people evaluate requests through their mission. Is this aligned? Is this necessary? Is this the best use of energy? If not, they decline respectfully. Another key idea is weekly planning. Daily planning often focuses on urgency. Weekly planning focuses on balance. Highly effective people identify key roles and choose 1 or 2 important actions for each role every week. This ensures progress across life areas. Small, consistent progress compounds. Habit 3 also emphasizes energy management, not just time management. You cannot perform important work when exhausted. Highly effective people protect sleep, health, and focus because these support effectiveness. Rest becomes strategic. Another powerful concept is integrity with commitments. Every time you follow through on planned priorities, you strengthen self-trust. And self-trust increases productivity more than motivation. Habit 3 also highlights the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency means doing things quickly. Effectiveness means doing the right things. You can be very efficient at tasks that do not matter. Many people confuse motion with progress. Highly effective people regularly ask, "Does this move me toward my vision?" If not, they adjust. Technology makes distraction easy. Intentional scheduling makes focus possible. Another important idea is buffering time. Life is unpredictable. Overloading schedules creates stress. Leaving space allows flexibility and creativity. Habit 3 also improves relationships. When you intentionally schedule family time, deep work, and rest, you show that priorities are real, not just spoken. Consistency builds trust with others. Covey emphasizes that willpower alone is unreliable. Systems create consistency. Examples include morning routines, work blocks without notifications, pre-planned exercise, weekly reflection. These systems reduce decision fatigue. Another concept is the emotional reward of completion. Finishing important tasks builds momentum and confidence. Avoiding them builds anxiety. Action reduces stress more than thinking. Habit 3 closes the gap between intention and behavior. Without this habit, the vision remains theoretical. With it, progress becomes visible. At this stage, the private victory is complete. You have responsibility. You have direction. You have execution. Now the journey shifts outward toward relationships and collaboration. Because effectiveness is not only personal, it is relational. Habit 4, think win-win after mastering self-leadership. Effectiveness expands into relationships. Many people approach life as competition. If someone wins, someone else must lose. This mindset creates tension, insecurity, and short-term thinking. Stephen Covey introduces a different perspective. Win-win. Win-win is not about being nice or avoiding conflict. It is about believing that success can be shared. Highly effective people seek solutions where all parties benefit. There are several relationship mindsets: win-lose dominance, control, competition, lose-win people-pleasing, avoidance, lose-lose, resentment, revenge, win individual success without regard for others. Win-win mutual benefit. Win-win requires maturity and confidence. If you do not believe there is enough opportunity, you compete destructively. But when you adopt an abundance mindset, collaboration becomes possible. This shift reduces fear. Win-win also requires integrity. You cannot create mutual success while hiding information or prioritizing ego. Trust becomes the foundation. Covey explains that win-win operates through agreements clear, expectations, shared goals, defined responsibilities, and mutual accountability. When expectations are vague, conflict increases. Clarity prevents misunderstanding. Another key idea is emotional independence. People with low self-confidence often accept lose-win because they fear rejection. Highly effective people respect others without abandoning their own values. They're both kind, firm. Win-win conversations focus on problems, not personalities. Instead of asking, "Who is right?" they ask, "What solution works for everyone?" This mindset transforms negotiation. Short-term victories that damage relationships are expensive. Long-term trust creates opportunity. Win-win also encourages creativity. When people stop competing, they start exploring possibilities. More ideas emerge. Better solutions appear. Another important concept is courage with consideration. Too much courage becomes aggression. Too much consideration becomes passivity. Win-win balances both. You communicate honestly while respecting others' perspectives. This builds psychological safety, the environment where people feel comfortable sharing ideas. Organizations, families, and teams thrive in this environment. Win-win is not always possible immediately. Sometimes values conflict. In those cases, Covey suggests no deal, respectfully walking away rather than forcing a harmful agreement. This protects trust. Win-win thinking also changes leadership. Instead of controlling performance through pressure, leaders create environments where everyone benefits from success. Recognition, growth opportunities, shared vision, these align incentives. Relationships become partnerships rather than transactions. Another practical idea is celebrating others' success. Scarcity mindset sees others' wins as threats. Abundance mindset sees them as inspiration. This reduces comparison and increases motivation. Over time, win-win builds reputation. People trust individuals who look for mutual benefit, and trust multiplies opportunity. Habit 4 shifts life from competition to collaboration. But collaboration requires understanding, which leads to Habit 5. Habit 5: seek first to understand, then to be understood. Most people listen with the intention to reply. Highly effective people listen to understand. This habit is about empathy, the ability to see the world from another person's perspective. Communication problems rarely come from lack of speaking. They come from lack of listening. Covey explains that we filter conversations through our experiences, assumptions, and emotions. We interpret instead of understanding. Habit 5 encourages empathetic listening. This means listening without interrupting, avoiding immediate advice, reflecting what the other person is saying, understanding emotions, not just words. When people feel understood, defensiveness decreases, trust increases. Empathy does not mean agreement. It means respect. Another important idea is diagnosing before prescribing. In medicine, doctors do not prescribe without diagnosis. In conversations, people often give solutions without understanding the problem. This creates frustration. Highly effective people ask questions first. What does this situation feel like for you? What concerns you most? What outcome would you want? These questions invite openness. Habit 5 also improves leadership. Employees, clients, and partners respond better when they feel heard. Listening reveals hidden problems and opportunities. Another powerful concept is emotional validation. Sometimes people do not need solutions. They need acknowledgement. Statements like, "That sounds difficult. I can see why that matters to you. Help me understand more." These build connection. Empathetic listening requires patience. Silence can feel uncomfortable, but it creates space for honesty. Habit 5 also changes conflict resolution. Arguments often escalate because both sides want to be understood first. When one person listens deeply, tension decreases. Understanding creates influence. Only after understanding should you express your perspective clearly, calmly, and respectfully. This sequence makes communication effective rather than reactive. Another idea is perspective expansion. Every person sees only part of reality. Listening combines perspectives into a fuller picture. This leads to better decisions. Habit 5 also strengthens personal relationships. Feeling understood is one of the deepest human needs. When people feel heard, connection deepens. Covey emphasizes that communication is a skill that improves with practice. You begin noticing how often you interrupt, assume, or prepare responses prematurely. Awareness leads to change. Over time, listening becomes natural. And influence grows not because you speak louder, but because people trust your intention. This trust enables Habit 6. Habit 6 synergizes synergy, means creating results that individuals could not achieve alone. It is the power of collaboration. When diverse perspectives combine, new solutions emerge. Habit 6 builds on the previous habits. Proactivity creates responsibility. Clarity creates direction. Trust enables cooperation. Understanding enables creativity. Synergy happens when differences are valued rather than feared. Many people avoid differences because they create discomfort. Highly effective people explore them. Different experiences produce different insights. Instead of asking, "Who is right?" they ask, "What can we create together?" This mindset transforms teams. Innovation rarely comes from identical thinking. It comes from respectful disagreement. Synergy requires psychological safety where people feel safe sharing unconventional ideas. Leaders play a key role here by encouraging curiosity rather than criticism. Another concept is humility. Synergy requires admitting you do not have all the answers. This openness invites contribution. Habit 6 also applies to personal life. Families, partnerships, and friendships benefit when individuals collaborate rather than compete. Problems become shared challenges instead of personal battles. Another important idea is creative problem solving. When two people defend positions, progress stops. When they explore possibilities, solutions appear. Synergy expands options. It also increases engagement. People support what they help create. Participation builds ownership. Habit 6 emphasizes that differences in personality, background, and thinking styles are assets. Instead of trying to eliminate differences, highly effective people integrate them. This leads to stronger decisions. Synergy also improves adaptability. Complex challenges require multiple perspectives. Collaborative thinking handles uncertainty better than individual thinking. Another powerful idea is learning through interaction. Exposure to different viewpoints accelerates growth. You see blind spots. You challenge assumptions. You expand understanding. Over time, this creates wisdom. Synergy is not always comfortable. It requires patience, openness, and trust. But the results are greater than individual effort. This is the peak of public victory, moving from independence to interdependence. Effectiveness becomes collective, but growth does not stop here. To sustain effectiveness, renewal is required. That is Habit 7. Habit 7, sharpen the saw. Stephen Covey ends the book with a habit that makes all other habits sustainable. Sharpening the saw means renewal, continuously improving the 4 areas of your life: physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual. Many people push productivity while neglecting renewal. They work harder, become exhausted, lose clarity, and eventually burn out. Highly effective people understand that performance requires maintenance. You cannot give your best when depleted. The metaphor comes from a story. A man is struggling to cut a tree with a dull saw. Someone suggests sharpening it. He replies, "I don't have time, I'm too busy cutting." This reflects modern life. People sacrifice health for work, relationships for deadlines, learning for urgency. Sharpening the saw reverses this pattern. It prioritizes long-term capacity over short-term output. Let's explore the 4 dimensions. Physical renewal energy supports effectiveness. Exercise, sleep, nutrition, and rest are not luxuries. They are performance tools. Physical renewal improves focus, mood, and resilience. Highly effective people treat health as an investment rather than an afterthought. Small habits matter. Walking regularly, stretching, sleeping consistently, eating intentionally. These actions increase productivity more than working extra hours while exhausted. Discipline in the body strengthens discipline in the mind. Mental renewal. The world changes constantly. Without learning, skills become outdated. Mental renewal includes reading, studying, reflection, and deep thinking. Highly effective people schedule learning. They expose themselves to new ideas, challenge assumptions, and develop critical thinking. Consumption becomes intentional rather than passive. Instead of endless scrolling, they choose growth-oriented inputs. Mental renewal also includes focused work, practicing concentration in a distracted world. This builds cognitive endurance. Over time, learning compounds into expertise. Emotional and social renewal relationships influence happiness more than achievements. Emotional renewal involves connection, empathy, gratitude, and contribution. Highly effective people invest in relationships before problems appear. They communicate appreciation. They listen deeply. They support others. This creates emotional resilience. Social renewal also includes managing stress through conversation, humor, and meaningful interaction. Isolation reduces effectiveness. Connection strengthens it. Giving also renews energy. Helping others creates purpose. Spiritual renewal. Spiritual does not necessarily mean religious. It means connection to meaning. This includes values, purpose, reflection, and alignment. Activities may include meditation, journaling, time in nature, prayer. Quiet thinking. Spiritual renewal provides direction when life becomes noisy. It reminds you why you are working, building, and striving. Without meaning, success feels empty. With meaning, effort becomes fulfilling. Habit 7 is powerful because it prevents burnout and stagnation. It creates continuous improvement. Small, consistent renewal leads to long-term effectiveness. This habit also reinforces identity. You begin seeing yourself as someone who grows, not someone who merely performs. And growth creates confidence. The complete model from dependence to interdependence. Seth. The 7 habits form a progression. Habit 1. Take responsibility. Habit 2. Define direction. Habit 3. Execute priorities. This creates independence. Then, Habit 4. Build mutual success. Habit 5. Understand deeply. Habit 6. Collaborate creatively. This creates interdependence. Finally, habit 7, sustain growth. This creates longevity. Effectiveness is not a destination. It is a lifestyle. Covey emphasizes that these habits are principles, not tactics. Tactics change with trends. Principles remain. Integrity, responsibility, empathy, collaboration. These work in every era. Another key idea is gradual improvement. People often expect dramatic change, but effectiveness grows through small daily actions. Keeping promises, planning intentionally, listening fully, learning consistently. Over time, these behaviors reshape identity. The habits also influence confidence. Confidence is not built from motivation. It is built from evidence. Each disciplined action becomes proof that you can trust yourself. That trust changes decisions. You take better risks. You communicate clearly. You pursue meaningful goals. Covey's message is deeply optimistic. You are not fixed. You are adaptable. Your past does not define your future. Your habits do. Practical lessons from the book Highly Effective People. Act based on values, not mood. Plan long-term. Act daily. Prioritize important work. Build relationships on trust. Listen before speaking. Value differences. Invest in renewal. They understand that success is holistic. Achievement without character is fragile. Character creates sustainable success. The book also reframes productivity. Effectiveness is not doing more. It is doing what matters. This reduces overwhelm. Instead of chasing everything, you commit to essentials. And consistency wins. Powerful closing message. Audiobook style. Imagine applying these habits for 1 year. Taking responsibility instead of blaming. Designing your life instead of drifting. Protecting priorities instead of reacting. Building partnerships instead of competing. Listening instead of arguing. Collaborating instead of controlling. Renewing instead of burning out. Your results would change. But more importantly, you would change. Effectiveness is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming your best self consistently. The 7 habits are simple, but not easy. They require awareness, patience, repetition. But every small step builds momentum, and momentum builds identity. You do not need perfect conditions to begin. You only need one decision: to live intentionally. Because the quality of your habits determines the quality of your life. YouTube outro script for your channel. If you enjoyed this audiobook summary of the 7 habits of highly effective people, remember, real change happens through consistent action. Choose one habit today. Practice it this week. Notice the difference. If this helped you, subscribe to Rise Audiobook for more powerful book summaries on mindset, success, and personal growth. And share this with someone who is working on becoming their best self. Your future is built by what you do repeatedly. See you in the next audiobook.